Alright, Abusuanya Mamu Nyinama Kwaba, Eba Ghana Politics Avenue. Ahana ope all the trending political stories in Ghana on Sabit Miaka. Na in the story am di Bermuye the Musronko. Abusuanya Minim Sambekaya, Enche Bia, Nasa Chakakra. I'm the chairman Wontumi, MPP, Asante Regional Chairman. I was aspiring national chairman of the New Patriotic Party. But in the story, be better more effort ne akonta mining concession. I was Saman boy. Mubaka am catch him say Wontumi the sa story na Bernard Mona and be making new revelation be na me bedum. Mubaka make I say echi be full story no subsequent bulletin be bia na de ba bedum. Na yei na enche bia na Chief Justice Justice Paul Bafuboni ekopie mo Ghana Immigration Service ana odin sem bi children o say efa Galamsey nyoma ne Galamsey sensem no afi obeda special court bi adi e dia masa cases na cases bi ti say chama Wontumi saman bo case wa bro do de nkrata na punta mine nkrata ekoji tumi krata efri aban wo so obeye mining na afi odane mat mamufuo so omfanye Galamsey no mun se asase no ni ensuo a ewo saman boy ene forest mu na yei na ebetu dwa na manfo ka na chama Wontumi ado na oyesa adenti na odo krata ekwa akwaje odo krata akwa akwaje tumi efra ban so okoye responsible mining na afo de krata we wa jiska efra krofo de asase na ma omo se una guta krata na omo nya so Galamsey se ebe ombe se ensuo ni asase no na wakodina se bibia fo mre bebrebe na we ne CJ so or the special court be create special court sa how dani free president his excellency John Dramani Mahama no buy no so be create special court bi na sansensem ne de say be sansensem no enche wo court bebrebe ko sansem no kwa ni bidinti case bia me follow na nya konebra nti enche tama Wontumi be hu ni faith efa ne Galamsey involvement and the destruction of land, water and the forest who sensem umenko tie video ni bi wa bra na Chief Justice edin say me tudwa wa bra kosa Ghana Immigration Service umenko tie video na ba di obi agbe mo high Ghana politics aben umenko tie video ni emras cca yeba
mentioned earlier will help fast track cases and tackle these crimes. Illegal mining, Galamsey being one of the key issues to look out for. Take a look.
In my bid to tackle congestion in courts, we have decided that we are going to set up dual morning and afternoon court system. And some judges will sit in the morning and other judges will sit in the afternoon. We intend to create special courts, and they are going to be rolled out coming Monday. These special courts are going to deal with cybercrime, Galamsey, human trafficking, In my bid to tackle congestion in courts, we have decided that we are going to set up dual morning and afternoon court system. And some judges will sit in the morning and other judges will sit in the afternoon. We intend to create special courts, and they are going to be rolled out coming Monday. These special courts are going to deal with cybercrime, Galamsey, human trafficking, In my bid to tackle congestion in courts, we have decided that we are going to set up dual morning and afternoon court system. And some judges will sit in the morning and other judges will sit in the afternoon. We intend to create special courts, and they are going to be rolled out coming Monday. These special courts are going to deal with cybercrime.
So that's the Chief Justice there. Let's go on to Zoom now. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey and is connecting with us right now. Dr. Ken Ashigbe, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Now, you hear the Chief Justice clear in his words timelines to when these specialized courts will start, because this is not the first time we're hearing this. If you recall, the president did give some indication of a sort when there were these engagements last year on the fight against Galamsey. Now we're hearing from the Chief Justice that by Monday, these specialized courts will kick in live, and that is also meant to deal with this backlog of cases, Galamsey being one of the major ones. How does it strike you?
Well, Alfred, we've been waiting for this for too long a time. You know, the offer was made last year, and now we hear the Chief Justice give a timeline to it. Monday is just a few days away. Again, we would want to see how, these courts would operate and how it would result in speedy trial of some of these cases that have been stuck in the courts. And so we take it with cautious optimism, hoping that it would deliver what exactly we are hoping it would do. But you know that it's not just the issues of the courts. It starts from the arrest to the investigators and to the prosecutions. We're hoping that our police people would take the criminals or the suspected criminals that will be arrested through the Minerals and Mining Act and not be using any trespass or anything. And then our judges would also do a good job and would have speedy trials and will also not just be dealing with, the small fishes, but the kingpins that His Excellency the President promised in October 2024. We're going to be able to see these people being prosecuted as well.
And one of the concerns I recall, well, maybe not concerns, but one of the issues that the Attorney General raised sometime last year, in fact, when the President met the CSOs, you were there at that meeting at the Jubilee House on the same matter of Galamsey. The Attorney General did indicate that you arrest these illegal miners, you take them to court, they are granted bail, and the next moment they are seen back at the same illegal mining site where they were arrested. I mean, how would this, from where you sit, address this challenge that he talked about?
Well, I think it's a major problem. And you see, Alfred, you need to go back to the days of Operation Vanguard, for example. We're recording less than 10% prosecution, and convictions were even less. And then we know the number of arrests that the NIMOS have been able to do. How many of that have been able to been successfully prosecuted? The wheels of justice, seem to move too extra slow when it comes to the issues of Galamsey. So we are hoping that now that there's a specialized court, the Chief Justice would also pay attention to it, so that the judges who will be handling these cases themselves will know that the Chief Justice is watching, all of us are watching, and so that the cases, all the cases that, we've reported, we would then be able to see some prosecution. And you see, once we get prosecutions happen, it also then becomes a deterrent. And then hopefully, because these are also specialized courts, we would have judges who understand the laws so far as the Minerals and Mining Act is concerned, and they would apply them. Bear in mind, some time back, there was a Takwa court where there were some Chinese that had been arrested. When prosecution was done, the judge gave them the minimum sentence for Ghanaians. That's what he gave to foreigners, and so we are hoping, which was just a fine, which they paid like a ticket. So we are hoping that our judges who will be sitting there would bear in mind that these are existential threats that face us. And so when the cases come, they would make sure that they are exacting the maximum punishment. We need to ensure that when our foreigners, they serve their sentences before, if they are going to be deported, they are deported. You see, justice should not only be done, but should be seen to be done, and should be done expeditiously.
Let's see. Now, as of end of last year, we're told almost 2,000 illegal miners had been arrested from January last year to the end of December. A number of them have been arraigned before court. So if we're talking about fixing that problem of the backlog of cases, we should also be looking at the prisons, is it not? Because if all of these persons who are arrested would have to be imprisoned after the guilt has been established, that's also going to create another challenge at that end, isn't it?
Well, definitely that's the case. And again, I'm just hoping that in doing all of this, we will be looking for, the root causes. So in the prosecutions that would be done, the Attorney General and his prosecutors and the state attorneys would be able to use a lot of the pawns that are in these games that might be arrested, to be able to get the knights, the queens, and the kings, who are behind this, so that we're not just going to be imprisoning these little ones who are in there to eke a living, yes, they've committed the crimes, but we should be able to use that, to lure and then be able to get the root causes. These politically exposed people, these influential people, these organized criminals who are behind it. So yes, I agree with you that we need to make sure we're clearing, we're unplugging our prisons. So we should not be giving people whose sins are misdemeanors custodial sentences. But these, hardened Galamsey criminals, especially the kingpins who are involved in this, they are the ones who should be serving the steep, custodial sentences. And I'm just also hoping that this whole thing of community service that we've been talking about as also being able to come, then they're not too serious cases, the misdemeanors and all of that. Community cases, sentences could then be done. And then these people who are really impacting upon our existence as a people, they would be given the stiffer custodial sentences. And then another thing that Alfred would do for us is that all the several excavators that have been confiscated, and all of these equipment, that are seized in the theaters of these crimes, that we've not been able to do forfeiture for. The courts, once they find them guilty, we can get forfeiture and then we can deploy them into some better use.
I see. Now, there's a trend, and this is going to be my final point. There's something I have observed over the period with the NIMOS's operations in these illegal mining areas. Before they get there, it's either the illegal miners have gotten wind of they are coming, and so they run away. They leave that site even before NIMOS gets there. Or in some cases, as we've seen with the Forestry Commission guards, they get these illegal mining sites. They don't even arrest them because they are a lot in this Abrewa Ninkrang area, thousands. Mm-hmm. So they had to rather burn down this settlement and then disperse them. From what we're hearing, these illegal miners at Abrewa Ninkrang who were dispersed after their location was burned down have converged again. They're coming back. They're coming back to do it. That's a big challenge, is it not?
No, it's definitely a big challenge. But there was a solution. You mentioned the engagement that we had with His Excellency the President, the CSOs. In that meeting, NIMOS had told us specifically that they were going to, one of their strategies was to set up permanent bases in these places, so that they are not just going and coming back like they are currently doing, but it looks as if they've not been provided the resources. So our appeal to His Excellency the President is that 150 million cedis that have been offered to NIMOS in the budget should be released, so NIMOS can have permanent bases within these places. Our forest reserves, our water bodies, they can permanently, so Abrewa Ninkrang, for example, you need to have a permanent base in there, so that when you go into these places, you then can hold the force that are there, because they are supposed to be there, they're not supposed to be leaving. Again, the Forestry Commission has also started a project where now they are building permanent bases, very strong bases within, some of their forest reserves. That's also something that should be encouraged. And I would urge His Excellency the President, the Minister of Finance, that the resources that are required to make sure that the NIMOSs have their permanent bases, the forestry people also have their permanent bases, and then we make the forestry guards, we make them a paramilitary organization. Make sure we provide them with superior firepower compared to what these illegal miners are having, so that then we can consolidate it. So once you go in there, you clear the people, you're able to deal with it. It also would mean that in terms of, some of these attacks where they ran off, the element of surprise is going to be important. Recently, we saw NIMOS get into a place in the eastern region. After trekking several kilometers and getting there, the people were able to swim to the other side. What is happening with our deployment of the Navy? What is happening with our deployment of the Air Force? So that sorties could be flown over these places. And then we'll make sure that we're arresting these people. And we should be using a lot more of the intelligence community to be able to strengthen our fight of it. So I am pretty sure that if you left it for the military, if you gave them all the resources that are required, permanent bases in these particular places, we would be able to deal with it constructively than we are currently doing. These things where they have to travel into those particular places and then the tip-offs will be done and all of that would then become a thing of the past.
Do thank you, Engineer Dr. Kanashigbe. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. I know that this Wontumi case is one that you've also been following quite closely. You have keen interest in them. What we're hearing today is that the state has closed this case after leading the 4 witnesses to testify against Bernard Boesiakom. And I want to find out quickly your own thoughts about this particular development, because what we're hearing is that Chairman Wontumi's lawyers have decided that, look, the minimum threshold of evidence has not even been proven so far after these 4 persons that were filed or presented by the Attorney General have been cross-examined. So he shouldn't even speak at all. What's your take on this?
Well, it would be a shame if, with all the evidence that we had collected all the way from 2022 all the way to this time, it would be a crying shame if the prosecution are not able to do a good job. Well, we still would be watching, and it's a place that we really are watching, because again, I'm not a lawyer, but again, if you look at all the evidence that we had, and in terms of the conversations that we have had with the lawyers and with some of the prosecutors, in terms of the evidence that was available right away from 2022, when he was caught mining in the Tanonimre Forest Reserve and also breaching the buffer policy, there was ample evidence. And again, we saw that the Prime Minister for Lands and Natural Resources himself had also done some extra work that had been done. I am confident in the Attorney General. I'm just hoping that the state attorneys that are handling this particular case do a good job. Again, that's why I was telling you that the thing about the whole prosecution thing does not only start with the judges or with a special court. It starts all the way from the evidence that were gathered, the investigators that have been working on this, and then the prosecutors and the way the cases are done. So all of us are watching, and I'm happy the media is also paying attention to it, and so that we ensure that cases like this, we deal with them. But it's not only Chairman Wontumi's case. There are other politically exposed persons whose cases we have not seen. If you take the Professor Frimpong Boateng report, for example, it's replete with a lot of politically exposed persons who are in it. The Attorney General, in the meeting you referred to with the SOs with His Excellency the President, had promised us other investigations that was being done. What is happening to that as well? To be able to deal with this issue of Galamsey, we need to deal with the politically exposed persons who are involved in this. And so these are issues that we're hoping that will be dealt with. So we are watching, and some of the lawyers who are involved in the coalition and as well, keep on explaining some of these things to us. And we want to ensure that the right thing is that justice has to be served.
Thank you so much for joining us. And matters like this, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, and in criminal cases like this, it must be beyond reasonable doubt, and that's actually what we're getting into right now, because the NPP Ashanti Regional Chair, Engineer Dr. Kanashigbe, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you. He is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. He's the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines as well. So all of those and how things play out in the fight against illegal mining impact on him in both ways. But the Ashanti Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, that's Bernard Boesiakom, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, has been jointly charged, as we do know, with the Akonta Mining Company Limited, his company, and then also that's an artificial person, and then the manager of the Akonta Mining, that's Kwame Enchi. This matters of assignment of mineral right without authority, facilitating unlicensed mining operations. Now, what does all of this mean? And this is what we're going to show to you, because and how far we have come with this particular case over the period up until this point. Well, as we do know, the charges were filed. In fact, 6 charges all in total against these 3. That is Bernard Boesiakom, Kwame Enchi, the managing director, and then also Akonta Mining as an official person in this regard. These persons were arraigned, and in this Kwame Enchi, as at the time, was at large, but then Chairman Wontumi pleaded not guilty and granted bail. As we do know, the bail conditions, it took a couple of days or more for him to meet that bail condition, and the trial then proceeded, and the prosecution, the Attorney General, the state for that matter, presented 4 witnesses to testify And the Chairman Wontumi's lawyers also had the opportunity to cross-examine these witnesses. Essentially, what has happened now is that today, the prosecution, that's the state, has closed its case. And Chairman Wontumi's lawyers say, well, they're filing for a submission of no case. What that essentially means is that his lawyers argue that the minimum evidence or evidential threshold has not been met. After cross-examining these 4 witnesses, say that, look, I mean, there's really nothing for their client to answer. So you should just go ahead with it. So what's going to happen going forward is that the trial judge would have to rule whether or not this particular application will hold. If it doesn't, then the trial proceeds. If it does, what's going to happen is Chairman Wontumi will be acquitted and discharged because, look, he's essentially going to be a free man, at least for as far as this particular case is concerned. And what then leads us to the Attorney General's own verdict on this. This is going to be the next step. If application is upheld, Chairman Wontumi will be acquitted and discharged. That's going to be a big turning point, because if you hear Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe says, well, there was abundance of evidence even before this trial started. That has to stand the test of the law. In the court of law, the language is evidence beyond reasonable doubt in criminal matters like this. If this application or submission of no case is not upheld, Chairman Wontumi will be ordered to open his defense. And what that means is that these witnesses that he is also going to be presenting will testify and cross-examined. And eventually, the defense will close their case, written submissions will be made, and then we would wait for the judgment of the court. So beyond this, we'll get to find out if this case will travel the long haul or the full haul, or it will be.
When you're not of where the Samoji Brain, I'm the T and I'm a T video. I had to me, you are bra. Chief Justice Paul Buffabon, Equipim, Ewo, Immigration Service, our this answer and 72 about new special quarter. Ye be the mark Galamsey related cases. Now, and they dig about channel, so educate best subscribe to channel. No. Or to bobo subscribe button is not subscribe to channel say be ya your content be and be follow you no DH. Now for we are notification bell na don't man on the best source don't sabe boss say be ya video we any video afro be a bit me dey be som be down mo on sabe to me aka be intem now so wetin da bo bra edi hu dwuma na afei we are video a hwe ye ma hwe is wani ji ho a na afei best source be like na o like chese wo wani ji video e dey be do mu na wa share ama mamfo so enya bise be omusu be hu de ekoso Ghana ya manyo semmu na afi so like share mamfo nya bi wi a nwie na afi comment section won ho ni hia pa wa me hu adwen kire a e fa video da bedum e bi a wo so adwen kire e fa hu ni nyina be ye dia no baba ye o comment section wo ni e hu ina o small way e kwan ya be fa so e bitimi aboa ama Ghana ya manyo sem ene nkita hudi akoso se be ya o man Ghana sa be fa ne mutuma fa efra eba amanyosem a da mu nyina mase samaje bre na mudati esi dem diga ga Ghana politics all the trending podcast stories in Ghana ya na unsa be ka da mu nyina mase samaje bre yakram